Hi there. So, the University of Washington Tacoma has released a statement on anti-racist and social justice work in the right and centre. They've taken quite a bit of criticism from right-wing leaning media outlets such as Breitbart, who have basically said that this is the university declaring that proper English language grammar is racist. The university then responded to this with a second statement saying that these reports were inaccurate and misrepresentative of what was really being said in the main statement. But I'm going to take you through the original statement and let you make up your own mind. Now, I'm going to link the original statement, the Breitbart report, and the second statement from the university so you can read all this yourself. But I just want to go through a few key points from the original statement. For example, the first sentence reads, "The right and centre works from several important beliefs that are crucial to helping writers write and succeed in a racist society." And as I said, it's just plastered with racist and racism all over the place. It carries on to say, "It is in the systems, structures, rules, languages, expectations and guidelines that make up our classes, school and society. For example, linguistic and writing research has shown clearly for many decades that there is no inherent standard of English." Citation needed there. So they don't actually give any citations or studies or anything like that there. So I'm kind of having to guess what they mean, and that's really, really vague. But if I'm to guess, that statement is both true and it isn't true at the same time. Allow me to explain. It is true in the sense that there is no central governing body for the English language like there would be, say, for example, with French. There is the French Academia, which writes the grammatical rules for the French language and the words, and writes basically the dictionary for them as well. So that is an example of a governing body that dictates the French language in a sense. And other European languages such as Spanish and German also have their own committees or groups or whatever you want to call them. English doesn't have a central group like that. We do have dictionary manufacturers, but they kind of work independently, so we don't have a unified... we don't really have a rule book, should I say. That's not really an accurate term, but it kind of is. We don't really have a rule book in a sense. So in that regard, they're kind of true. But to be honest, that's also not true in a more literal sense. We do have an informal standard of English. And what I mean by that is, if anyone, no matter who it is, as long as they speak a given degree of English, even if it's not their first language, you can communicate with another person, again, even if that other person doesn't speak English as a first language. As long as you have a competent level of English, you can communicate with each other. You can carry on a conversation, and this is through an mostly informal standard of English. But there is a standard of English. It's the way they write that. It almost sounds as if they're saying each country or each region has its own form of English, and that is simply not true. People from Britain can communicate with people from America, and they can communicate with people from Australia, and as I said, they can communicate with people whose first language isn't even English. So there is a standard. To say that there isn't any form of any standard of English is just blatantly incorrect. But as I said, there isn't a committee, but that's not what they're talking about. Well, at least that's not what I'm picking up. On down it says, "Furthermore, by acknowledging and critiquing the systematic racism that forms parts of the UWT," are you trying to say that your university is racist there? "And the languages and literacies expected in it," well, you're a university. You're among the highest tier of education. You should have an expectation of literacy. I mean, is that wrong to expect from a university? Anyway, "Students and writing centre consultants can cultivate a more socially just future for everyone." Does that include the conservatives? You know, the way that liberal professors outnumber conservatives nearly 12 to 1. You know, the way that conservative students feel ostracised and isolated in their universities? Yeah, probably not. Sure, it doesn't. Anyway, it has a second section saying "our commitment," and it talks about what it basically aims to achieve with this statement. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole thing. There are 2 bullet points that stand out to me. The first one says, be sensitive to our language practices, what we say or allow to be said. In other words, thought policing. But really, this is what this all boils down to, isn't it? It's all about control. I mean, there are so many ways they could have wrote this statement, but as I said, and if you read it yourself, as I said, it's full of the word racism and social justice and racist and blah blah blah. This inherent idea that our language is somehow racist. It's just fucking ridiculous. Like, give it a break, for Christ's sake. It says, and other microaggressions that may make some people feel uncomfortable or feel in some way inferior. And again, I hate it when they use the word uncomfortable or inferior or some sort of vague and subjective term. I mean, there's, people can make themselves uncomfortable. They can make themselves feel inferior. Be specific. What are you talking about? Give us examples. Something, for fuck's sake. The second bullet point that really got my nerve, and this is the crux to me of the whole statement, so it is. Emphasize the importance of rhetorical situations over grammatical correctness in the production of text. And obviously now you can see where Breitbart got its title from, so it does. And basically it's just saying it doesn't matter if you can't, express yourself. It's all about what you said, It's fucking, you're a university, you need to have high standards, If you're a medical school and you're just letting any old student pass your courses, sure, you're going to have a high success rate, but, those future doctors, they're not going to be so good at their jobs, and then you're going to have a problem years down the line. It's all nice and well being inclusive and blah, blah, blah. It's the future generations that suffer for this. And that's why I really don't like this. And that's where you can see the Breitbart, and where they came from with their article. So I'm just going to quickly reference the response that they said, and the University of Washington basically said, oh, we're being misrepresented and this isn't really what we meant to say. But in essence it is, okay? They said here, for example, the right and centre statement is not about changing the standard for how the University of Washington teaches commonly accepted English, grammar and composition. Well, it kind of is. That's what I'm saying. If you're going to call everything racist, the standard English language that we all speak, even if it is informally standard, yeah, if you're going to call it all racist and say you can and can't say this sort of stuff, yeah, you kind of are changing how English grammar and composition works. You're banning certain words. That, and well, I can't actually say that they're trying to ban certain words, but let's face it, microaggressions. They specifically said they wanted to stop microaggressions. What is that? That's the banning of certain words, isn't it? Now they didn't give anything. They didn't give any examples or anything specific. But then again, they never do when they write these sort of things. So, but you know what I mean. It's just been a farce from the start, right? The University of Washington is just trying to appeal to social justice warriors, as it's not going to work. I don't care. I just let me know what you think in the comments below.